mortgage holders, which was a definite. If they didn't do that, everything was going to crash. They had to at least protect mortgage holders. But again, the places that are getting hit the most with coronavirus are urban areas where you have a high population that are renters, and there are a high population that are subject to what's going on right now. So we got to see how that's going to play out. But we know for sure that the shit's not going to be smooth. For sure, that's not going to be smooth. So things we don't know. We don't know what the bottom will be. And I keep wanting to emphasize that. Like, even if we hit a new low a month from now, we still don't even know if that's going to be the bottom. So again, do not make any plays thinking you figured out the bottom. I'm never going to tell y'all when the bottom is. I might tell y'all I think it might be done, or we might but no one knows when the bottom is, and you can never accurately time it. You just want to put yourself in the right position to the point where, like I said, if you have that long time horizon, even if you bought today, you bought 3 months from now, or you bought 6 months from now, all three of those entry points are still going to be good, quote unquote, entry points if your time horizon is 10 years. So take that for what you will. We don't know what the future will be for public and private equity. So now with all these bailouts coming out, and again, like I said, these next bailouts are going to definitely be a lot more creative. You have the government floating the idea of doing like many other nations, but this isn't really something that America has traditionally done, at least not outright directly, where the government has actual equity stakes in the companies that they're bailing out. So I think it was Boeing that said, nah, we good, we'll get our money somewhere else. And what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot of companies when that stipulation, or when and if that stipulation is tied in with future bailouts, you will see companies voluntarily refusing bailouts or refusing to participate in the bailout programs because they do not want to get tied in with that. But also on the flip end, now, where does the line get crossed where you have a government entity that the government has stakes in, but yet, government contracts are supposed to be bidded out on a quote-unquote fair basis? When a government contract goes to an entity that has ownership, public ownership by the government, where does the lines get drawn? We are now, again, this coronavirus is achieving a lot of things. It's a social experiment for one. This is a test run. There's gonna be some shit further down the line where they're gonna really bang niggas, and that's gonna be the real shit. But this is a test run. They're testing the limits of what they could do with the population, how long we could suspend, business with the country still functioning. There's a lot of testing being done. But again, going forward, when that line is blurred out between public and private entities, what does that mean for your positions in the market? It may be a good thing, because if you do have a company that is unfairly getting government contracts because the government has stake in a company and you have stake in a company, it might work out for you. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, but these are some of the unknowns you have to take going forward, and you have to consider when putting together your portfolio, because do you want a portfolio that has companies that are potentially going to have government stake in it or not? These are all questions you may want to ask yourself, and you got to kind of consider. What else we don't know? We don't know how long it's going to take back to normal. So a 3-month stop, work from home, quarantine, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is way different from a 6-month, and that's way different from a 9-month. And I think even though we don't know how long it can be, one thing you can correlate is that the longer this lasts, the longer the recovery will be, and the higher the damage will be from it. So don't make a play thinking we hit our peak, or you're trying to time the peak. Bro, this shit is... There's so much. Half of New York is empty right now. So these people ran somewhere, and I'm sure a lot of these rich people with summer homes in all these towns, a lot of them dudes ran away with it. And again, it's just a matter of time till we start seeing the outbreaks in these other non-urban areas. It's literally inevitably only a matter of time. So don't even try to get into the game of trying to time it, making assumptions of how long it's going to last. Like, nah. If that's the game you playing, you're gonna body yourself. I promise you that. I promise you that. And the last thing, well, we kind of talked about it on the market, and we really don't know what the future shifts will be in the market. Hold on a second. Let me drink my smoothie, my organic smoothie. Shouts out to Larry June. You know what I'm saying? We keeping it real organic out here. But we don't know what the future's gonna hold for consumers. I mean, this was a shell shock for a lot of people. A lot of people who don't have savings. A lot of people who don't have alternative streams of revenue. A lot of people who have real estate. You know, I really feel bad for, like, you know, that, you know, with all this sentiment where people are like, you know, shitting on landlords, like, fuck the landlords, fuck the landlords. Like, yeah, some landlords are slumlords, but, like, there are landlords that are just a family of regular people with regular jobs that try to, you know, they don't really know how to play stocks or anything like that, so they're trying to do a little investment in a crib for, you know, their long-term wealth for their family. And for them to not get rent for 3 months, I mean, that's crazy. Like, that's, and again, you got to remember, people are assuming that, oh, even if you get a mortgage, if they get forgiveness on a mortgage during that time, they're good. Yeah, they're good if your rent was offsetting their mortgage, but not everyone's situation is set up like that. So if they were in a situation where they were paying additional money on top of the money they were getting from you for their mortgage, like, losing out on that money doesn't necessarily help them, because they still have to, they may not pay the interest, the money is still got to get paid. They're just putting it on the back end of their mortgage, but they still lose out for these 3 months. It's still a net loss for them. They don't break even, and they're not that landlord that has the capital to do it. But anyway, I just went off in a tangent. But on the market end, like I said, we don't know what's the future going to hold for companies, public, private, where that line is going to be, how people are going to treat them, how government contracts are going to get handed out, how the future bailouts. So we know about the uncertainty on the market end, but even on the consumer end, like, do consumers come out of quarantine and go back to spending the exact same way they were spending before quarantine? I mean, how many consumers are even going to go back to retail stores when you've just been programmed for 2 months to get everything you need delivered to your crib? Who says people are even going to be spending at all? Because they just got shell shocked. They didn't have any savings. I'm pretty sure a lot of people who didn't have any backup plans up until this point are going to come out of the quarantine, and they're going to establish backup plans for the future. So what does that mean for spending? So again, even when you're making a play, and even if you're assuming that the economy is going to come back up, what economy is coming back? Yeah, the economy everything will come back, but what type of economy will it be? Like, what are going to be the market shifts? How much events, conferences that are going on, right, that used to go on a daily basis, that have been suspended for 3 months, investor meetings, board meetings, they're now facilitating them through video conference. So now when quarantine's over, do all these companies go back to doing all these live events? Again, and this is why you got whole hotels. Most of the hotels in New York City are shut down completely, because, I mean, even outside of the travel bans. Hold on for a quick second. I think these French niggas about to rap. Niggas ain't trying to hear no French niggas talk some bullshit. These fucking niggas. But yeah, so again, so you have all these hotels, most of them are closed down, and people think like it's like tourist travel that keeps up the hotel and travel economy. Like, yeah, maybe June to August. Like, but who you think is traveling September to December, January to May? Like, that's all business travel, business conferences and stuff like that. If all these businesses are reconsidering, businesses are going to even reconsider their office space. A lot of jobs that were off the table from being quote-unquote work from home now have to be work from home. And when they come back, they're going to just do the math. If you were getting the same productivity out of a department when they were at home, as opposed to when you had this office space that you have to lease out, you have to furnish, you have to pay utilities on, why do you come back to that office space? So again, we don't, we're in a once in a lifetime period. This is going to be more impactful than what happened in September 11th, what happened in the housing crisis, probably even the tech bubble. It's definitely going to be probably the magnitude of a couple of them combined, because of how many facets of life this is going to alter. Because it's going to alter everything from fundamentals. It's altering. You got universe things like UBI. Andrew Yang was campaigning on UBI, couldn't win a Democratic nomination, and here we go. UBI. What you think that $1,200 payment was? That's universal basic income. It took a catastrophe to do it, but you got things that were completely off the table. Free healthcare for people who are fighting the coronavirus. Universal health care, universal basic income, things that were completely off the table 1 month ago are now in policy being implemented. So the aftershock or after effects of, everything that we're going through right now can't be calculated at this point. And anyone could do is guesstimate, and even that is a poor guesstimation at best, because we haven't even seen the extent of the damage. Because the damage, we haven't even gotten anywhere near the peak or the worst of it. So with that being said, y'all out there trading, stay safe, make sure you trading with rubbers. Always get insurance on your moves, always hedge your plays. If you on calls, get a couple puts to offset it. If you on puts, get a couple of calls to offset it. Because if you raw dogging in these streets, you're gonna get banged. Like this market right now is, even pro dudes is getting banged. I got banged for $5,000 last week on spot puts, just because I didn't have that time horizon. My puts expired last week. Those same puts, if they expired this week, will be up. Again, time horizons matter. And if you're, again, for the people who just invest in, or the people who ain't traders, they just want to get prepped on, want to get their hand in the market. They think it's a good time to start investing. It's a great time to start investing if you have that time horizon. You have to have a time horizon of at minimum 5 years, but 5 to 10 years if you are trying to enter any type of long-term holds. And if you're, like I said earlier, if you're uncomfortable and you don't know if it's the bottom, one, get it out of your head that you're going to time the bottom perfectly, because it's impossible. But if that's your stance and you don't think the bottom has hit yet and you think there is further pain, trail down into your positions. I won 100 shares of Apple. It was my dream. I'm gonna buy 10 shares this week or this month, buy 10 shares next week or next month, and do that until you get to that 100 shares. And again, set your time horizons longer. Get out the mode of instant gratification. This is definitely not the market for instant gratification. And another thing, which I'm going to wrap this all up with, is there was a bubble that I always was talking about to Options Gang, and that was a retail investor bubble. In the retail investor bubble, retail investors are, the regular people, everyday people, doing Robinhood, doing their little thing on Robinhood, et cetera, et cetera. All this new market, this new money came into the market. And granted, retail investment money is peanuts compared to like real market maker monies, but it still is significant when it adds up. All this new money came into the market. They was gonna pull the rug under niggas. We just came out of, Trump had the market pretty much on steroids. So we just came out of what was called a stock pickers market, where you could take a dart and throw it at the board, and chances are the stock you threw it at was going to go up, because most stocks were going up. That's just what we were in. Times have changed. And as you have seen, a lot of people have quit. A lot of Robinhood people or traders have quit within the last week or two, because they just got wrecked bad, because they were still moving in the market as they were moving before, because the environment was different. So if you came up in a stock pickers market, you kind of just lucked up, and then it was kind of real. It was easier, and it was just, the wins it wasn't hard to get wins in that market, but now it's a lot harder. So again, if you didn't do the education, if you're not reading charts, if you're not doing the education on the actual stocks, getting the fundamental knowledge on the stocks that you are playing, stretch out your time horizon. Just pick the companies you really trust, the companies you think ain't gonna go nowhere, the companies you actually utilize on a day-to-day basis, and set your time horizon much longer and spend that time learning. But if you playing the short game, you definitely gotta you gotta be strapped, and you make sure, man, don't trade raw out here. Don't be crazy. So I'm gonna holla at y'all.